What's up, Falcon fans? This is the recap video where we discuss what happened to the Atlanta Falcons. If you guys like this type of content, hit that like button. If you guys hate this type of content, hit that dislike button. It won't hurt your boy's feelings. Well, maybe just a little bit. But also, if you want to do a huge favor for your boy, by hitting that subscribe button, it will help out the empire grow tremendously. So on that note, let's talk about the good, the bad, and the Falcons. So let's start out with the good. First of all, I have no shame in telling you guys that I was wrong about my prediction that I had my last video where I said we're going to lose this game 30-13, mostly because of how Arthur Smith was running the offense. Now, I did believe in Desmond Ridder, and I have always stated that he just needs a solid game of the offensive line to give him those yards that we've seen that he can do. He had articulated over 329 passing yards, 1 passing touchdown, and 1 rushing touchdown. What an excellent game he had when he's not getting hammered, every single snap where he has to worry about where is the defenders coming from in the inside, outside, or whatever type of crazy blitz concept the defenders always keep using against us. Having 26 first down conversions, unlike the Houston Texans' 17 first down conversions, really helped move the chain and establish the Atlanta Falcons' passing game and running attack, because we had 18 passing first down, and having 8 rushing first downs really helped the momentum going. Now, obviously, if you just look at the stat sheets, especially in the second and third quarter, you might be thinking what happened. Well, a lot of missed opportunities and turnovers were the major key factors, and a lot of stupid penalties that were hurting us, but I'll get that into the bad section. But we have to give credit where credit's due. Kyle Pitts, Jonnu Smith, Drake London really find a lot of ways to get wide open to help Desmond Ridder to really hit all those targets that he got, for 20 plus, 30 plus receiving yards. And, Bijan Robinson, does Bijan Robinson things, and we cannot deny that. And I'm glad that we weren't just focusing on Bijan Robinson for the whole entire game, because that kind of hurt us with the Lions and with the Jaguars when they knew that we're going to give it to Bijan Robinson, even though we have talented other wide receiver weapons out there. And this is a great way to showcase what firepower we have when we can spread it out, show the love out, because, Pitts, London, Smith, and Hollins, and Pruitt and everybody else were averaging 12 to 20 per yards receptions, because they found ways to separate. And that was one of the major problems we had as Falcon fans, were why they couldn't get separation, because there were a lot of creative plays that Arthur Smith concocted that really helped Desmond Ridder to making sure that he does not miss those golden opportunities to move the chain. That's why we have 26 first down conversions, because of him not just focusing on one guy. The offensive line is a huge reason why Desmond Ridder had a fantastic game, and making sure he did not get sacked, making sure he didn't feel uncomfortable in or outside of the pocket, making sure he had enough time to see his wide receiver weapons and tight ends and running backs, to making sure that they can create those separations enough. So when you give Desmond Ridder enough time, this is a great indication that Desmond Ridder is a very capable quarterback. Obviously, the outside zone runs are usually our bread and butter, but I feel like we need to improve a little bit on the inside run attack. But I feel a bit more confident enough that Arthur Smith is finally changing, finally understanding that you need to be creative a little bit more outside of your own circle. Now, obviously, we don't know what he's really thinking about, in those meetings, because we're not there. We don't know what he thinks inside of his Ukrainian, but hopefully, this is a good sign for the Atlanta Falcons going forward. And so I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt, because he has shown us that he can be creative, and showing that he can do stuff with Desmond Ridder that a lot of people didn't think he can do. This defense is a legit defense, because they have proven themselves that they can handle firepower weapons from the Houston Texans. Let's not mistake this. The Houston Texans wide receiving core and the tight end core is pretty good, and for them to shut them down is amazing. Okay, maybe Dalton Schultz, not so much when he got that crazy touchdown against, he kind of juked or faded, Jesse Bates, but one play does not define how great this defense is. They make sure that Tank Bell, Nico Collins, Robin Woods, John Minchip III, making sure they went below 60, in total receiving yards, barely got any reception, 32 targets and caught 20, receptions of the entire receiving core. excellent job by them, really, because, Collins has been going bananas so far in the NFL, and, averaging 100 yards per game, and we only allow him to get, 39 total receiving yards under 4 receptions, and, or 4 targets and 3 receptions is a fantastic job. AJ Terrell just did a pretty good job. Nate Landman did a fantastic job for our, backup guy, now going to be a starter. And he's really been proving himself that even in the preseason, he was balling out and making interceptions and sacks. So I'm very confident enough that he's going to be good for the Atlanta Falcons. D. Alford, the king of the seatbelts, my boys, when he was just locking everybody. I don't know why I said that. Caden Ellis did a great job. Richie Grant did a fantastic job in making sure that nobody got him, reception, receiving wise, or passing yards, or whatever you want to call it. Fantastic coverage skills, and all around, really great stopping on third down conversions. I mean, I can't believe, the Houston Texans went 13 on fourth, because we stopped them. We only gave them 4 third down conversions. That's crazy, because they're really excellent on third down conversions. So hats off to the Atlanta Falcons defense. This defense is for real. I think it's going to be one of the best Falcons defense we had in a very long time. And it's just too bad that Matt Ryan couldn't taste this type of defense. But besides that, let's talk about the bad. There are certain play calls on the defensive side of the ball where we just give up huge chunks of yardage where there's no Falcon defenders. And I'm not blaming any Falcon players at all. I blame the coverages and the scheme for that particular important time frame where you're trying to get them off the field, but for some reason we just let them get these wide open coverages for Tank Bell, Nico Collins, Dalton Schultz, for some type of crazy palaver reason where we don't go man-to-man coverage for some reason. I'd rather get beat a man-to-man, because at least you're trying to making sure they have to fight to catch this reception. Well, a lot of times we don't do that, and they get wide open grass areas where they can easily get some points on the board, because they did it 5 times in their drive where they got 4 field goals and only 1 touchdown. But think about this. If CJ Stroud and maybe the running back found a way to score on those 4 touchdowns instead of field goals, this would have been a different story and a different type of mentality for the Falcon fans. So we were grateful that they did not score the touchdowns, because CJ Stroud is very capable of getting those touchdowns. So we're just very lucky today that they did not convert on that type of palaver, right? So let's also talk about the penalties, because that would really hurt us. We had some false starts that really backed up the Atlanta Falcons and what they want to do with the play schemes very early on. We had some very personal dumb plays that I understood what our center Drew Dolman was doing, but at the same time, you can't be selfish enough to take it out on Henry Tua. That really caused your Atlanta Falcons team to score 3 points, and then that allowed the Houston Texans to score some points for themselves. So that kind of hurt us, and backtracking to making sure we had to play catch up in a sense. So those things we got to clean up. Now, obviously, there's going to be penalties in games, but we have to make sure how consistent we are to making sure we don't get more than 1 penalty if we have to, because if we start getting piles of penalties, that's going to be a huge problem for the Atlanta Falcons going forward. But I do believe in Arthur Smith correcting the issue fast and making sure it's not going to linger all over the season, because he is an offensive line guy. He understands what it takes to making sure that you do everything by the books correctly. So I'm not going to go forward on being concerned about that logic until it has to be addressed again. But now let's talk about the Falcons. The Houston Texans are definitely going to be a formidable opponent down the road. There's no doubt about it. CJ Stroud is still a really good young quarterback so far in his rookie campaign. He has 1,461 passing yards, 7 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and has over 100 quarterback passer rating. So he's definitely a guy that we got lucky, because at the end of the day, he averaged 2 touchdowns per game. So luckily we got them slipping, but they also averaged 30 points per game as well. So we are also very grateful. And you know what, next time we meet up, it might be a different story. But for now, we also have to give credit where credit is due by the Atlanta Falcons offensive side of the ball, making sure that Desmond Ridder was up all right and making sure he didn't get sacked. And we also have to give thanks to the Atlanta Falcons defense to making sure that CJ Stroud and the Houston Texans did not score more than 5 total touchdowns where they could have, because at the end of the day, with those 2 turnovers of fumbles by Bijan Robinson and Jonnu Smith, instead of making that 14 points, they only gained 3 points out of that. So we have to give them so much credit for this Atlanta Falcons strength, this toughness, you know, this willing to not break and bend type of mentality of defense. And for that is, you got to give it up to the coaching staff. They're making sure they know, don't falter under pressure and just keep going until the clock hits 0. If you guys lasted this long to the very end of the video, thank you guys so much for taking your personal time and daily watch these Falcon content videos. I love making Falcon videos for you guys. Here's more on the screen for you guys. So what do Falcons do? Rise up. Until the next episode, show love and peace to the world, and peace.